my god. Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. How you doing? It's been a while. Yeah, there's lots to like catch up on, and maybe I don't know. I don't even know if it's that type of channel. I'm just gathered here today to talk about some of my favorite reads so far of 2026. I just want to yap about them and share them to my 4 subscribers. I still got 4, y'all. I still got just 4. But you know what? I mess with y'all. I mess with y'all heavy. So, I'm just gonna... I don't want this to be like a super long video. I'm just gonna get right into talking about some of my favorite books this year. I just realized I have this heart filter on. I'm recording on my Mac. Let's just keep it on. So... I think this is maybe my favorite one I've read this year so far. It is A Breath of Life by Clarice Lispector. Beautiful cover, beautiful color, beautiful color, beautiful cover. This book is a masterpiece. I have literally never felt so seen as a writer. I feel like if you are a writer, this is a must read. It's just put together in such incredible prose, and it touches like on the intimacy of writing, of creation, of the entanglement of your own identity into what you're creating, how you put your own self, your own words, your own experiences into like what you create, and breathing life into that with words. It's like orgasmic and emotional and just so full of possibility. But at the same time, the story of it details something that I've been experiencing as a narrative writer. Like, I don't know if I share, but mainly majority of my writing has been like screenwriting, and I feel like that's narrative in a way, but it's different from just writing like narrative prose. And what I've been realizing while writing narrative prose is that I don't have as much control over a story as I think I do. And this story in here puts it together so perfectly. It positions writing as like this dance between the writer and the character he's creating, and it's just like so beautiful. This made me think of how much of myself I pour into the writing process. The author in this book takes the abstractions of not just like the physical experience, but also like the metaphysical, and putting them into words, which is what he was doing while creating the character. And that's also what I was experiencing while reading it. I'm not sure how much a non-writer would enjoy this, but if you are a creator of any type, I feel like there's something of yourself that you can see in this. This book showed me how to do overwriting perfectly, because sometimes I feel like I can overwrite, but she does it so perfectly. I definitely want to read more of this author. I will probably read a lot more of her for sure. Clarice, I want to know much more about you. More. She's like a Brazilian author that was like born in Ukraine, something like this. I feel like there's a sentence in here, like you can see, like I literally highlighted this like up and down, annotated. Too much. But there's a sentence in here that describes it perfectly, I think. And it's, I want every sentence in this book to feel like a climax. That it did, sister. That it did. Moving on. Subliminal, How Your Unconscious Mind Rules Your Behavior by Leonard Imlodinow. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I really been trying to pronounce authors' names correctly. But Imlodinow. Hopefully. This book was recommended to me by someone almost 2 years ago. I read it earlier this year. But it was recommended to me by someone that like is a big bookworm, and yeah, I decided to check it out. Great news. We're all just meat sacks, and 90% of what we do is controlled by this unconscious system that we aren't even aware of most of the time. So that's great. I think this is the first book I've ever read about, or I've ever finished, about the brain, and it definitely makes me want to read more. I learned a lot about how our subliminal brain is unconscious to us, but affects the way that we experience the world consciously. We think a lot of our behavior is done with intent and rationale, but there are a lot of things that influence it that we don't see. And this is just like the architecture of our human brains. One of the main points in this book is that evolution gave us an unconscious mind so that we can survive in a world that requires us to digest and intake information all the time. So our unconscious mind does a lot of the automatic work for us. Our brain perceives our human experience through our five senses, right? And things are happening 100% of the time. If our brain was conscious for everything and noting every sensory experience, we wouldn't be able to function as human beings. Like we wouldn't be able to survive in this society, survive in this world that we don't made up. So most of it is unconscious and automated so that we can go through our days like normies. It touches on trauma, how unreliable human memory is. That was one of my favorite parts. How so many things that we don't notice drive the way that we make decisions. It dives into the history of social science and how it's related to cognitive psychology and how that's evolved. It cites a bunch of like relevant studies in here, how our unconscious mind shows up in dating, the way we make decisions, like I said. So if any of that sparks your curiosity, I would definitely check it out. It was a lot of my reads a lot of these are like 5-star reads. This is like a 5-star read for me. The next one is The Metamorphosis by Frank Kafka. I really enjoyed this book. Like I've had this book for a while. I've had this book for like a couple of years, but I just read it like a few months ago, and it was amazing. It was really amazing, and I really just like this version that I bought because it's so many words like on a page. Like that type of stuff is interesting. It's neat to me. Never in my life did I think I would have empathy for a bug. I don't like to know too much about stories before I read them, so going into it, I just knew that it's about a man that wakes up one day and he's a bug. But it touches on so many deep things, actually, and I've heard about Frank Kafka so much. Like, I definitely gonna read more of him as well. Like, I got The Trial on my list to read, etc. And this story just touched on a lot of things. One of the most profound things I got from this book is how difficult change is, which is something I'm sure so many of us can relate to. Individual change for you, but also for like those around you and in your life. I thought about making a whole video about this book. It was really, really good. It's hard to talk about it without like spoiling it. So I keep hitting myself in the eye. I would just say I really, really liked it, and it's a short read too, so if, I think I would recommend this book to a lot of people. It was really good. I also picked up the Spanish version. Metamorphosis. Next up, we have Toni Morrison, Song of Solomon. Toni. This book makes my southern soul so happy. Like, Toni just, whenever I read her, I know it's gonna connect a lot to my childhood and my family and just the way I grew up in like the rural South. So yeah, I just love this woman and I love her writing, Of course, whenever I read Toni, I feel like I get a glimpse into the way that my grandparents and my great-grandparents grew up, from the way the characters speak, because she's just spot on with that, with the southern dialect, the southern drawl, the southern slang. Like, it just, I can hear my great aunts, I can hear my grandparents, I can hear like I can hear all of that whenever I read her. To the political issues that go on the way the communities interact with each other, because it's so different in the South, like especially in small towns. Like the town in this book like is so unique. Like small towns get so much shit, I think, in like the way that like big cities view them is like ignorant and like just nothing to do there, boring. But it's such a unique, small towns are so unique, such a unique like human dynamic. It's kind of unexplainable unless you have lived in one. I don't know, it's just something about the South. It's just something about the South. It's just something about the South. It's just all so vivid in my head from when I'm reading her, from all the stories like my grandmother has told me, and the way I've been able to like observe them myself since I've been alive. You know, in the stories, a lot of people doing like the best with what they could. I like the historical fiction that Toni kind of ties into her stories as well. This particular time period is so significant in Black American history too. The Black Reconstruction era was under a lot of threats, but thriving in some areas as well. She just gets it. It's funny because I feel like Clarice Lispector articulated a lot of feelings that I haven't been able to put into words, and Toni put feelings I've been ruminating over in a page on a story that felt like home. So this was special. I love the idea in here of chasing your history as well. Whenever someone asks, like, you know, would you rather go to the past or the future, I always say the past, because I would just want to see like how my parents and how my grandparents grew up. This story went in a direction I didn't expect. The way she masterminded, orchestrated, conducted this story, child. Great. Good. Real good. Real good. I'm also like really loving magical realism. Really loving that these days too. My last mention is Why I Write by George Orwell. This little thing right here, I expected it to be about his writing process, but in actuality, it's a few essays. One was about his writing process, the others more around his political motivations for writing, including like European fascism during the rise of Nazi Germany, and which I get if you read George Orwell. His politics is really heavy in a lot of his stories. So my favorite's Animal Farm. Love Animal Farm. It's my favorite. There was a lot to go over in this one. You know, I took a lot of notes. He does discuss the four like purposes of writing, which I thought was interesting. And then his more like political essays, he talks about how the role of patriotism and the culture of England plays a part in the way that they respond to the rise of Nazi Germany. I love how it touches on conscious and unconscious ignorance. There are people that don't know the concept of an empire even exists, and then you have people that do know it exists, know all the pitfalls of whatever system is there, but still choose it. He hints on the effects of war on consumerism, of course. So many relevant things to what's going on today. It's so interesting how history repeats itself. I was reading this in like, again, favorite Octavia Butler quote. I say it all the time: nothing new under the sun, just new suns. He talks about how the working class suffers because billionaires won't sacrifice and make change in their lives during this time. Media, or in this case, in the US case, the presidential administration, the president himself said that there will be no war in this. There will be no war. And in 1939, the British press was saying the same exact thing. So many parallels, different nations, same systems. It talks about how culture and education, nationalism and classism, how they all play a part in nurturing fascism. And in this particular case in time, how it can instead lay the foundation for democratic socialism. One point, I did love a lot of just the information in this, but one particular part it touched on is like how modern language and y'all know I've made a video on language before, but how modern language, use of certain words and phrases in modern English, political writing has a tendency to decrease understanding and access to knowledge. Like it can be such a barrier to accessing information and knowledge, while also concealing like violence and concealing corruption and oppression and just the evil nature of so many governments and regimes that are in power. They do this by using vague and broad language that doesn't like paint a picture in your head really well, and they use like pre-made phrases that sound smart but are really like meaningless. And it sounds like they're saying something, but they're not really saying nothing. Like, I'm sure you've like, just listen to any like political person in America talk. Like, listen to any presidential debate like of recent years. You can just see they're like, the way they speak, trying to make it seem like they're saying something, but they're really not saying it. They would say something like, in my opinion, is not a justifiable assumption that XYZ. When in reality, you could just say, I think. And I think this is so important when it comes to like bridging a gap between people, because for example, with socialism, let's say you're talking like in a intellectual circle, like you may use words like totalitarianism or fascism and equality, and I think some people know what these words mean when they're saying them, but a lot of folks don't. A lot of folks have not had access to that language, and a lot of folks that haven't had access to this language are a lot of folks that would benefit from socialism. So they would benefit from these types of systems, but they don't even know it because the language is really exclusive. Like, they just haven't been exposed to it. So there's a way to describe and talk about these concepts and these ideologies in everyday language that could teach people more, instead of reserving political discussions for these intellectual circles and for your smarty pants friends that want to sound smart. So he's talking about that in there, which I really, really, really like. I think sort of the appeal of Donald Trump is because his supporters are always talking about him like, oh, he keeps it real, you know, he's not the other politicians that are gonna like try and beat around the bush or try and trick you. Like, he's gonna say what he means. If it's hurtful, at least he's being honest. If it's blunt, at least he's being honest. Like, that's real. They think that is real. I think it's because like folks are so used to politicians, at least here in the US, I don't know about other places, it's because we're so used to politics like inflating language, and it seems insincere because you're using these phrases and silly words to get this really simple message across and sort of disguise it under this veil of ambiguity that gets you off the hook for doing like evil ass shit. Whereas Donald Trump will say something like, yes, we went to war, yes, we're killing people, which is still evil, but some people find comfort in it because he said it plainly instead of hiding behind these rows of words that most politicians do. Learned a lot about his political stances, how language shows up in a totalitarian state, which is a big theme in 1984, but also before it even reaches that state, the continual decline of it, like beforehand. So yeah, not what I expected it to be, but I enjoyed it. That was my last one, but I will give this honorable mention to this gem, which is my most recent, I think this is the most recent book I finished. Who Fears Death by Nnedi Okorafor. Really enjoyed this. This was gifted to me by a friend, and I saw myself so much in this book. I really, really enjoyed it. It's something I wouldn't probably pick up. Like, of course, the cover is beautiful, but it gives like fantasy vibes, and I don't know. Sometimes I can be like driven away from fantasy because I think like automatically like dragons and like that type of stuff, which I don't mind. Like, I watch House of Dragons, I watch Game of Thrones, like, but I don't know. And also, like, I think my most recent like writings I've done have been fantasy, so I'm like, girl, why aren't you reading fantasy? But this was amazing. Like, if you like heroine type of stories. Like, it made me think of like Attack on Titan, because it was just like that hero's journey, you know what I mean? Like, going on this journey that you think is your destiny, doing it like with your friends, how close y'all get, not being afraid to face death. Like, that type of thing, that bravery, that courage just gets me going. Like, it makes me so emotional, and especially when it's like young people doing that type of stuff, you know what I mean? So I really enjoyed this, and I want to read more by her as well. I will look more into her. She's a Nigerian author. I liked her writing as well. It was concise and concrete, but also very full. So yeah, I enjoy like the traditions and the culture that envelop this book as well. It's like a journey of discovery for the reader and the main character, like going through it. Like, the main character doesn't know everything about this world that she's in, and she's learning a lot along the way, and I'm learning that with her, and that feels just like so nice. And there's just so many themes, so it's really amazing. So I had to pull that one out. I'm currently reading The Pearl by John Steinbeck, and it's good so far. I'm like 28 pages in. I don't know why I haven't finished it yet. Like, I could finish this in one sitting, but I just haven't. But they told me this book is really sad, and I'm not gonna lie, I was like crying last night when I was reading it in bed, because I'm only like 28 pages in, but like, it was making me think about stuff, and I'm PMSing a little bit, so I was really like tearing up in bed. Like, the tear, you know, when you're laying down and the tear just go like that. Yeah, but I'm excited to see like where this will go. But yeah, y'all, thank you for watching. I like talking about books, so maybe I'll try and make more book content. But because vlogs, like, I have a vlog that I've been meaning to upload, like, from Colombia, but it's taking me so long to edit, and it's not even like taking long to edit. I'm just like, do I want to put this in there? I'm just like overthinking. So I don't know, but this video's done, and I'm gonna upload it, and I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you for supporting my channel and listening to me yap. If you are reading something, let me know down below. If you are new here, thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for watching again, and have a good day. Mwah.